Am I in, guys? Can you hear me? Heather? No? Great.
I can hear you, Heather.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, since everyone is present, I am going to start the meeting. We begin today by acknowledging that the land on which we gather is traditional territory of the Willistock Whig. These territories are covered by treaties of peace and friendship of the Willistock Whig people, first signed with the British Crown in 1725. I now call to order our meeting. Time is 6:59. Attendance has been taken. Approval of the agenda.
So approved, yeah. Madam Chair, I'd like to make a motion to renew, to add a motion. To renew motion 23-89 immediately following number 5 and the approval of minutes.
Okay, and could I have a seconder for that?
Before second.
Okay, and I'll turn the floor over to Don for a minute. Do you want to make an explanation for us, Don, please?
Sure. Thank you, Madam Chair. So what happens when a motion to renew is offered is that we then go back in time and discuss a motion that has already been on the board, on the agenda. Director Fox has made a motion to add to our agenda, and to add to our agenda requires a 2/3 majority to alter the agenda at the meeting. So it will be incumbent upon the board at this time to consider the motion, to add the motion to renew. This doesn't mean that the motion to renew will pass. It simply puts it on the order paper. When we get to that item on the agenda, we will, if it passes, the board will discuss whether or not they want to renew that motion. That discussion is an administrative item and only requires a simple majority. If the motion to renew is passed, then the budget will be before the board. And that will need to be dealt with according to the formula that's specified in the act. So there are 3 separate considerations that will be before you this evening. First one, do we add the motion to renew to the agenda? If that passes, then when we get to the motion to renew, you will decide whether or not you actually want to renew the motion. If you decide that, then you will discuss the budget. And it will, in practice, take us back in time to October 26th. As we go through it, if you have questions, I'd be happy to weigh in. This is not a usual process. And so, Madam Chair, the question before the directors now is whether or not they want to amend the agenda.
Yes. Just.
Vote in favor, but.
Ellie.
She hasn't called the question.
Roll call? Yes, please.
I'd like to make a motion prior to the question. To
Motion.
amend.
You can make a motion, a motion to amend Director Fox's motion is appropriate at this time.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'd like to move that we treat this motion after 7D. I believe there are some elements relevant to the budget discussion that are coming out of the Finance Committee's report, and I'd like to hear that before I vote on the budget.
Okay, so Don, how did we go?
So now you will poll the board to see if there's a seconder for that amendment.
Okay.
And what the board is considering is where this will land on the agenda. Once we decide where it will land on the agenda, we will then vote on whether or not to amend the agenda.
Okay, so do we have a seconder with Greg's motion?
Bob Powell. Bob Powell.
Heard you loud and clear, Director
Okay.
Powell.
I didn't know you heard me. Thank you.
You did. Okay, so, we,
So now directors can speak to this motion if they so wish. And typically, the mover, speaks first.
I'm just simply trying to find a place on the agenda for, the budget discussion and voting on it. That allows us to discuss, what the finance committee did since we last met, which was visit a number of communities to find out some information pertinent to the budget.
okay,
Madam Chair,
yes,
7D is simply tabling of a report from a previous finance committee meeting. Not a meeting where, be careful, not a meeting that had to do with the budget. So it could be there, or it could be, as Director Fox's request was at the beginning, and the finance committee in the proceeding of the renewing of the motion, I will provide information as to the last finance committee meeting, which was this morning.
okay,
So it's not relevant whether or not it comes after that. Okay, I'll withdraw my motion.
discard your motion?
Yeah.
Okay, so the original amendment from Director Fox was to add a motion to renew motion 23-89 immediately following number 5, approval of the minutes. So that's what we're going to be voting on now.
That's correct.
Right. And Kelly, could I get you to do the roll call, please?
Okay. Derek Pleadwell,
Aye.
David Duplessis,
Aye.
Mike Richardson,
Aye.
Dave Morrison,
Yeah.
Richard Corey,
Yes.
Tim Fox,
Aye.
Heather Holt Logan,
Yes.
Bob Powell. Is that no?
He's on mute.
Is that yes?
Bob's on mute.
No.
David Hayward,
Yes.
Len Falconer. Did I say that right? Falconer,
Aye.
Dale Mowry,
Yes.
Judy Wilson She,
Yes,
Greg Erickson,
No.
and Marty Forsyth.
Yes.
Motion carried.
motion carried?
Yep.
Thank you. So we will be discussing that right after I approve of the minutes. Okay. Are there any conflict of interest for disclosure this evening? No. Approve of the minutes, November the 7th.
Motion to approve the minutes. Dave Morrison in there.
I'll second it. I'll second.
Any discussion?
2 minutes.
Ready for the question? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carried. Okay. Now we will go to renewing the motion.
So I move to renew motion 23-89, which states that the board approve a total operating budget for the Capital Region Service Commission for the 2024 calendar year, consisting of total revenue of $18,236,550 and total expenses of $18,236,550 by limiting member contributions to no more than the 2023 plus CPI amounts plus CPI and or previously contractually agreed upon increases as related to the new mandated services and funds associated with cooperative and regional planning. And that the capital budget consists of total expenditures of $3,062,000 as detailed in the budget information circulated previously and presented to the board on September 7, 2023. And subsequently forwarded to the member communities that are municipalities or rural municipalities and to the minister in accordance with section 28 of the Regional Service Delivery Act on September 8, 2023, and discussed and reviewed again on October 3rd, 2023, and redistributed on October 4th, 2023.
The seconder,
David Hamer.
yeah, Don, is this when we take the vote to put it on the table?
That's correct, Madam Chair, although directors may wish to speak to it. And again, typically, the mover gets to speak first, and that might provide Director Corey with an opportunity to provide the context that Director Erickson was looking for.
Okay, Director Corey, please.
So in the finance committee met this morning and at the finance committee, we reviewed our options for dealing with the previously failed motion related to the budget. There were, I guess, three, well, really only one or two options in the end that could be dealt with. We also received information related to the meetings that were held with the communities. There were 3 meetings held, one with New Maryland, one with Nackwick, Noble, and one with the city of Frederick. In both in the New Maryland and Nackwick cases, I had received positive information back from the mayors indicating that there was a positive response from their councils. We did meet for an extended meeting, I would say, with the city of Fredericton mayor, CAO, and treasurer, and we shared the options that we were aware of at that point in time that could be used to deal with this. And the options are straightforward, I guess. They're what we're doing right now, and that is to renew the motion. The original motion that I put on the table after the last finance committee never really made it to the table. It was the amendment came forward, and the amendment was approved by the board. The process to amend was approved by the board, and then the motion was defeated on the motion on the budget, which included that amendment. So in renewing, we only have the opportunity to bring back which we had. Anything else would trigger the 45-day redevelopment of the budget. And we did discuss that as an opportunity, but didn't see that it was going to bring an awful lot of change to the outcome. And it was going to push our budget decision well into January of this year. When we met with the city of Fredericton, it was very clear that the city did not indicate any issue with the total budget. The cost was not an issue. The issue that was raised by the city, if I can articulate it correctly, and please feel free to correct me if I'm off base in this, was had to do with some of the additional costs that were being brought into the mandated areas, but they were additional costs that they felt were maybe not required or well documented. So the suggestion was made that we move those costs into another area because they were already in the budget. We could put them somewhere else. And that we felt would have also been changing the budget. So by changing the budget, leaving the dollar amount the same, and understanding, I think, this is a budget. This isn't last year's expenditure. This is a budget. And in my history, budgets are budgets. They rarely end up as they start. So, and we heard the message from the city. We also listened to the issue of fairness raised by the city. And I think we spoke positively about how that's an understandable issue when you have one member around the board that pays a significant amount of the cost of operating. And so from the point of view of a council like that, I could easily see that they would feel there are perceptions or issues that look like fairness. That being said, the options we had were to crash the budget and start from scratch, or go back and try and fix things, and they probably would be, if that's where we go, fixable. They just won't be fixable quickly, and they won't solidify the strength of this board. Because if there's one thing that I've said in all the meetings and fellow around, when I sit at this table, I sit at this table with a group of people that have this region as the first thing in mind. Rarely have I seen any of us, including the city, by the way. I'm not stay away from an issue because it didn't favor their community just so. We're looking at making a strong region and doing that. That being said, we put it on the table this morning, and the decision was made to recommend that we renew the motion as our best option of getting our budget through, getting over it, and moving forward. I think that if we do that, we have an obligation to understand what we've heard in the last few weeks, how the budget process was handled, how it impacts not only the city, but other communities, and do it differently another time. We also have to talk openly about the perception of fairness whenever we're adding or changing any of our structures inside, whether it's in the mandated areas or the other areas. And so for me, there have been some really good lessons in this whole process. So, Director Erickson, is there any? I don't want to speak just to you, but I open the floor to
Well, I think what I'm gonna
through the
do.
chairs. Yeah.
Yes, I'm gonna go around the table, and that way I won't miss anybody. So, do you have any comments?
I'm on the finance committee and I participated in the meeting this morning, and I think Director Corey has stated this very well and very fair to all municipalities, in my opinion, and I supported it this morning and I still support it tonight.
Thank you.
And I'm not on the finance committee, but I'm glad this issue is being brought forward and hopefully we can get it resolved.
Absolutely, yeah.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I think Director Corey did an excellent job of summarizing the meeting that we had in the city. I can't speak to the other two meetings, but I've certainly been briefed on the meeting that was convened with the city of Fredericton to discuss the budget issues. He's absolutely right. It's not the total amount, it's not the materiality of that. You know, the devil's in the details. And I'll give for example, just to explain where we're coming from. There's an FTE position in the budget, I believe. Please do correct me if I'm wrong. For a staff person to do grant writing and applications on behalf of the communities that represent our region. And the city of Fredericton believes that should be under the same model that community planning is at the Regional Service Commission, where we only pay into the service if you use it. The city of Fredericton has several people that we employ to do grant writing already. And so we would be contributing to what's essentially a superfluous function. And it may be the case that not all of the communities, are in a position to apply for grants. So we like the same structure that governs how planning is costed out to the communities to also apply to that kind of an FTE and services that communities will be opting in and opting out of. And some have opted in, like the city of Fredericton, and doubled down several times so that we've got a couple FTEs for this. And this prevents duplication, and creates what we think is a fair availability of services in the region, and especially to those that want a higher level of service without having to ask others to pay for it. And so it's an example like that is stuck. But Director Corey also did an excellent job discussing how budgets are, in some senses, projections and theoretical documents, and we have a whole year to work things out and a whole another budget process after this for next year, and hopefully we'll be able to solve these problems moving forward.
Do you have anything to add, John?
No.
Thank you, Director Corey and the finance team for bringing this forth and getting it back on the table and, just echo those comments. There's a lot of camaraderie around this room, around this table. I believe that there's a lot of goodwill to move forward with the cards that have been dealt with us. But in order to deal with those cards, we need to go through a budget process, get through this budget process, and put some framework around this coming year, which will be a little bit different than this year, and it will require a budget to do so. And I'm not here to vilify or vindicate anything to do with the budget, but I just want some velocity for us to get on with it and move forward with our communities. That's all I have to say.
Thank you.
I have to ask a question. In your example that you just said about grant writing, are you implying, or I may be wrong, I'll admit if I'm wrong, I'm wrong, but are you implying that instead of hiring somebody on the Capital Region Service Commission to write grants for us, for everybody, that we utilize the services that you have at the city?
No.
No? Okay.
Treat it just like planning.
Just like planning, put it in the planning aspect. Okay, that's fine.
Dr. Cox?
Hold on, I haven't finished.
Oh, yes.
Oh, I said two things. Chapter two. I had to answer that one, but I use the same thing as the strategic plan. It's a working document. The budget is a working document. If we're gonna twiddle their thumbs and go again and go through this again till February to keep everybody happy that the Capital Region Service Commission is not gonna tell you what to do. They're not gonna tell you what you do if you're a municipality or whatever. It's a group. So like I believe we need to get this budget passed, let the people do the work. We work on it. And the government reform, God knows what's gonna happen now, because we have new deputy, new minister and all that other stuff, so there could be more money coming our way as well to help with the budget. We put that effort, but you can't ask for anything if you don't have a budget. And I really don't think we need to wait till February to get another one when we had the motion there was a city's motion that we passed, and then the city voted against it. I left that meeting. I'm involved in a lot of boards. I was ready to strangle somebody after that meeting. That was that ugly. So as far as I'm concerned, let's get the budget moving forward, get it done, get the work done and go. And if we need more money, we go to the people that gave us this project, the government. That's that.
Thank you. Dr. Fox?
Just two quick points. One, my rationale behind asking for this to be added to our agenda tonight is that we move on, and it was suggested this morning that we convene a special meeting to have this discussion. And I think for me, that's one of the issues that we need to address going forward is meetings and the cost of meetings. And those are things that we can talk about as a finance committee about how we've structured ourselves as a board and trying to optimize our time and cost and expenses appropriately. So that's in my, I'm kind of a rip the Band-Aid off kind of person, let's deal with it, let's move on. And we don't need another, we don't need another meeting for it. And then the second part of that is that I think that there's some work for the finance committee to do over the next, suggest even the next 3 to 4 months. And probably some work for the board as a whole to do in terms of policy or direction on how we spend the money in this budget. And so that's where my head's at with this is let's get it done and let's move on and let's get some things fixed up, because quite frankly, I'm not totally satisfied, and I don't think my community is totally satisfied with the budget either. But having said that, we're prepared to support it at this juncture and fix the things that need to be fixed as we move forward.
I really haven't been in the seat long enough to even comment on what's going on. And I'll, you guys follow your lead.
Dr. Dowd?
Yes, I do want to thank Director Corey for the extensive work we've done and leadership in that. And I too do think going in the future, like as you mentioned, in the year coming, there's always things that we can look back at, and sometimes maybe not necessarily say correct, but look it over and make changes, make it fit. And too, I do know that the budget is a working document and not always going to work out the way we want for the end years out, but I am willing to vote for this.
Thank you.
First, I'd like to thank Director Corey for their efforts in bringing everyone to some form of collaboration at this point. I also like to thank Director Fox for taking the initiative to be the catalyst for this decision being made tonight. And I think it's the only way we can start to move forward is by wrapping this piece of business up. So I fully support it.
Thank you. Director Mike Richardson.
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. Yes, we're also prepared to support it and move this forward. Like the comments earlier, Director Corey, I'd like to thank him for his explanation, but like I said, we are ready to move forward on this budget. Thank you.
Thank you. Director Heather Alt Logan.
Well, I'm really not that qualified to say either because I'm relatively new and was just asked at the last moment to sit in this evening. However, budgets, there's always room for improvement with everything, and it's a hard job to make everybody happy, but I do believe we should move forward.
Thank you. Director Powell?
Hear me? Can you hear me?
Yes. No, you're on mute again.
Okay,
There.
now can you hear me? It's not about the money, and I kept saying that over and over. It's about the process and the transparency, and we had to make a stand. And we're not arguing about the money, and we're all working together. But even with the new hiring that in the bid, we never had a case history or what they're going to be doing or anything like that. There was nothing open or common about it. I think what we have to do is definitely we have to pass a budget. I mean, there's no doubt about it, but we got to get more guarantees about transparency and where the money's going in the budgets and how it's supposed to be used. And that's part of the budget committee's job, I think. And I think that if we're moving forward on this, we better be more prepared to dig into these issues.
Thank you. That's it, Director Powell? Anything
Yes.
further?
No.
Thank you.
Just a couple of quick comments. One is, I think finance committee would agree that in bringing forward our first motion, when I went home the night after the other vote, I said to my wife, I said, am I that naive? And she said, no, you're not. And I said, well, I think it was, because we maybe didn't bring a strong review and recommendation to the table. But in the process, we've learned a number of things and we need to benefit from them. The other quick item is that the FTE referred to, the definition is correct, except for the individual also, the intention is they would be writing grants for us as a board as well. So those two things come together in that, and I would say maybe that was never made as clear as it needs to be, because we all want someone mining money for us all the time. And then sometimes we're gonna find ourselves competing with ourselves, mining that money. It won't be unusual, so that was the only clarification.
Okay, and I would just like to thank Director Fox for bringing that to our attention. I don't like surprises at the table. I was given ample opportunity to read over what you were want to accomplish tonight, and I thank you for that. And we all have to work together around this table, and not one of us are mind readers. Like Director Morrison, if you have a concern with the budget, then you should put it on the table with all these directors and with our staff, so we can understand where you're coming from. We've heard problems here and there, but we want to be successful. And in order to be successful, we have to work together. So that's all I'm going to say about the budget. And I know we can do it. We can all work together. And if people have concerns, bring them up, share them with us at this table so we can talk about it. Now we'll go to the vote.
Yes, ma'am.
Please.
For clarity, this vote is not on the budget. This vote is to whether or not we're going to renew the motion. If we renew the motion, we'll then debate and the question will be put about the budget.
So, aye.
Judy Wilson She,
Yes.
David Hayward,
Yes.
Dale Mallory,
Yes.
Greg Erickson,
No.
Heather Holt Logan,
You're on mute.
Yes.
thank you. Dave Morrison,
Yes.
Tim Fox,
Yes.
Derek Cleveland,
Yes.
Bob Howell,
No,
David Duplessis,
Yes.
Marty Forsyth,
Yes.
Mike Richardson,
Yes.
and Len Falconer.
Yes.
Madam Chair, that motion has passed because its requirement is for a simple majority. So the motion is now renewed and before this table. And it would be appropriate now to debate the merits or shortcomings of the budget and ultimately call the question on the budget.
Okay. Director Coyne,
I think I've had my say.
okay. Go down the table again. Anyone has anything new to add?
No.
No.
No, I'm good.
Nothing new?
The one new thing I would add is that, in discussions with the mayor and council and city staff, we have not, changed our position, because of the lack of specificity around some of the new mandate area spending and so on and so forth.
Okay.
My only comment will be, when we sit at this table, we represent the region. And our vote is for the betterment of the region and this commission. So I call that, to keep that as directors in mind when we have this vote.
I only have one comment, but something Bob said, and it's just me. we sit around the board. Our, I could be wrong again. Twice in one night be scary, but, our only employee is the CEO, John. Am I correct on that?
That's right.
Yes.
correct.
That's correct. So he runs the shop. When they bring the budget in to hire people or to hire things, that's under him. If we do not like the budget or what has happened, we take him to task on it, maybe he's not running it properly. Then we get rid of our own employee. But we're not responsible in hiring people that do planning or the garbage or anything on this. That's our CEO's job, which we pay him good money to do. So they brought the budget forward. We're nickel and diming everything in the budget as if we're responsible for it. We are not responsible for that budget. The CEO is, to get the operation in place so the budget comes forward. So to worry about whether the transparencies in hiring this person to do planning for us or whatever, because Oromocto has opted out of planning because they have their own planners. Fredericton has their own planners. They opt out of that. So they can opt out of the people writing their grants for them because they do a good job themselves. They get grants and stuff like that, but people sitting around the table, John has brought it forward that we have somebody to write grants and they make up the money bringing it in, the pays that they're paying him or her to do, then he's doing his job. So that's why this whole thing going around in the budget is where we're nickel and diming like it's our own budgets. And that's where I think there's a confusion being taken place. And that's why I said, let's get it done. They brought it forward. We have our CEO who has to answer to us on the whole operation, not just the nickel and diming of it. But let's get it in place and get it done and get to work. Enough said.
Mr. Fox?
Thank you. Gave me a thought.
Okay, good. Thank you.
Yes.
We, Nacogdoches Rural Community has its own economic development corporation. And we continue to support that economic development corporation. And we support Regional Service Commission mandated services of economic development and tourism. And we're happy to do so. And that's all I'm gonna say.
I hear you loud and clear.
I am good with what's.
Director Heather, Logan, do you have anything further to add?
No, I don't.
Thank you. Mike Richardson, Director Mike Richardson,
No, Madam Chair, I have no further comments.
thank you. And Director Powell.
No, I think what we're doing, we are working together. And we can all agree, and we can all agree for different reasons. So we have to accept other people's opinions and the reasons they have. And if we're not the majority, then we're not the majority. But we have to, if we see something, if I see something, or any other community sees something that does not suit them or does not like them, they should have the right to speak up and say their mind and not be judged and ruled and not saying, oh, you're not being a team partner. We all have the same say. So I don't want you thinking that Oromocto's against it and we're not being a partner in this business, because we aren't. We're in this with both feet like everyone else. So it's if we have a different of opinion, we have a different of opinion.
Thank you. Director Ford.
You know, and sometimes you just have to stop and think before you speak. And I think it's wise for me to do that now, but the two big kids in the schoolyard own 51% of the turf. And when the little kids get shoved around by those kids in the schoolyard, it doesn't feel like a partnership, doesn't feel like we're one of the group. And I said this to the city several times, and Steve, who really is the spokesperson for the city, been strong. I understand why this is good for the smaller communities, but it isn't as good for us. For our community, when I look at the Capital Region Service Commission and the services that I can access collaboratively with the rest of you, I can have my 25 employees working for my community to support the things that I need to have done. So I think it would be incredibly unfortunate that the 51% vote would sit here tonight and say, oh, don't worry about it, we'll fix it for you down the road or something of that nature. And the rest of us, I can tell you where I am with that. If that happens tonight, it will be tricky for me to ever get back on board again. It just will, because trust is trust. And no, I don't mistrust the city. They're doing what they said they would do. And but that 51% is given for lots of reasons. One, to protect the major players and their cost from 6 of us saying we're going to do this, or 12 of us saying they're going to do this, and having them go along with it. And yeah, it's a trust that they're given in that process as well. So there are some RSCs, and I heard about this in the weekend, and I thought it maybe didn't have as much value as I thought. But some of the RSCs have gone to a 1 member, 1 vote. So I guess that's all I have to say.
Okay, I'll turn the floor over to Don now.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'm hesitant to enter your debate about the role of staff. However, I do want to draw attention to one item that's been discussed as used as an example, and that's the example of a grant writer that's in the FTE. So I want to be totally transparent about that. This individual has already been hired and is working for us today. And to refer to them as a grant writer is to only look at part of what they do. But we'll talk about grant writing. I'll begin with grant writing. There's a difference between local grant writing and regional grant writing. And with respect, those organizations that have grant writers on staff are not positioned to write for regional grants. The regional accountability mechanism is through this board. And so that person who does that task has to report, from a staff perspective, has to report to the CEO, as Director Forsyth has identified. This individual also is part of the finance team. It's no surprise to all of us with the different streams of money that have started to enter this organization. Our finance team is constrained in their ability to spin all of these plates. And this individual provides assistance to that group as well. So this individual is a corporate employee, works across lines, and it is not possible to identify her work as being attributed to 7 communities and not the other 4. That's why they fit where they fit. And finally, I see your challenge. It's a large challenge. I would encourage you to think of this as year 0 rather than year 1. We started this new series of mandates based on a budget that was developed by a facilitator who was not responsible to this board, who developed a budget. And I can speak from firsthand experience that the facilitators, their instruction was get a budget, get it up and running and exit. So that these organizations, whether they're regional service commissions or new municipalities, can start the process of running. So I say that to support what Ms. Langdon has said before. 2023 is not really a great base year to start to make some comparisons. If you have a difficult choice in front of you, I'm not trying to enter your debate or steer anywhere, but I did think it relevant to make those clarifications.
Thank you.
To the vote.
We'll be
And
missing.
this vote will be,
Mary.
Oh, yes, right.
and this vote will be according to the formula, provincially laid out formula.
Yes, please.
Del Mari,
Yes.
David Hayward,
Yes.
Judy Wilson She,
Yes.
Bob Powell,
Okay.
There, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yes.
Heather Holt Logan,
Yes.
Tim Fox,
Yes.
Richard Corey,
Yes.
Dave Morrison,
Yes.
Mike Richardson,
Yes.
Ben Falconer,
Yes.
Greg Erickson,
No.
David Duplessis,
Yes.
Marty Forsythe,
Yes.
Eric Diesel.
Yes.
Motion is passed. Madam Chair.
Pass. Thank you, directors.
So you have a budget.
Thank you. And I assume that special meeting for Friday will be canceled. Thank you. Okay,
you.
thank you. Brenda.
Yes, and so at this point, it would be appropriate, as Mary Kay has drawn our attention to, the budget includes borrowings. And that needs to be dealt with at the same time. And I certainly hope that you have a copy of that, Mary Kay, because I overlooked it completely.
Might take me a minute here.
But you may have that, Kelly, in the.
We don't know. It would have been. That doesn't have it, right?
Perhaps, Madam Chair, we could, in the interest of time, we
Yes,
could proceed with the balance of the agenda while staff locates the budget.
oh, absolutely, yes. Okay, we're gonna move on now to staff report, meeting protocols. Don, please.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Included in your package is a report that addresses the meeting protocols that the board looked at in February when we were anticipating a new COVID year or and the board passed a motion. It was in good faith. We were going to meet virtually and not expose ourselves to the risk of cross contamination. From a practical point of view, that proved to be unworkable. Staff have been asked, well, the chair of the committee should be there. And then different directors would like to be here because they have a personal passion for item on an agenda. Staff are asked, can you waive that? We really don't have the authority to waive your resolution. So the recommendation is that we opt for option two, which would, be to pass a motion rescinding, resolution 2311, leaving the method of attendance to individual directors, preference. And so that's a staff recommendation, Madam Chair.
Okay, so we need that motion on the floor, right?
That's correct.
Would you like to do the motion?
I so moved the motion. Do you want me to read it?
Please.
Yes, there is.
The board can pass the motion rescinding 23-11, leaving the method of attendance to individual directors' preference.
Second, Director Polino.
Any discussion? Yes,
One question, and maybe Don can answer this, Madam Chair, are there still, caps for attending electronically that are relevant under the Local Governance Act, or do those not apply to us?
So, Madam Chair, a very good question. The caps that are, that work for municipalities do not apply to Regional Service Commission, presumably because we cover a larger territory and not everyone is local.
They have been removed from municipalities as well.
There you go.
okay. Any further discussion? Ready for the question?
Question?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carried. Thank you. Now we'll go on to the 2024 meeting schedule. Don, please.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Annually, the board, adopted a resolution setting the time and, the date and time of its meetings for the coming year. And, you have a report, before you, recommending, once again, the first Tuesday of every month, with, two exceptions. The first Tuesday in January often is, in what was called still a holiday period. And, the, first Tuesday in, September can often be the day after Labor Day. And so, we opt for, Thursday of that month. So, so our recommendation is that the board, adopt the schedule in the report, which can be done, by passing the motion that is in bold.
Okay, who would like to read the motion? Director People, please.
Be resolved that pursuant to section 5.2 of the Capital Regional Service Commission procedural bylaw that the meetings of the Board of Directors of 2024 be as follows. There were 6 March 5th, April 2nd, May 7th, June 4th, Thursday, September 5th, October 1st, November 5th, December 3rd.
Second, any discussion? Yes,
I'm not a big fan of meetings, and don't get me wrong, but I just find it's only 2 months missing in the summer, but it's really a 3-month period. I find that a long time. And we run into a bit of an issue this past year on the Horizon Health issue, there was some questions and wanted some more answers, and we didn't meet through the summer, and we would have had to call a special meeting, which would have had to been approved. That's just my thought, that it's a long stretch in there. And I'm wondering if we could have one the first part of July. I realize it's a long weekend in July, but we're still going 2 months without a meeting, cut it back from 3. Just my thought.
yeah, anything to say to that?
No, we follow the director's pleasure in that regard, Madam Chair.
Anyone have any comments on that? Yes,
I like the idea of having no meetings in July and August. If we need one, we can call one.
can call a special meeting, absolutely. Yeah, would you be fine with that if something, if need be, then we could call a special meeting?
Sure.
And staff will keep us apprised, and if there's information out there that we need to have a meeting and discuss, then we're certainly call a special meeting. Would you have something? No? Anyone else, any comments? Okay. Ready for discussion? Ready for the question? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carried. Thank you.
Madam Chair, I believe we're ready for the Borland motion now.
Okay, Yes.
So, refer that to Mayor Day.
okay,
So, thank you, Madam Chair. For votes that relate to borrowing as well as settlement fees, is a 2/3 of the weighted votes of the members of the board who are receiving the service. So these are for solid waste services. I believe there is one board member that does not receive our solid waste services right now. So they would not be voting.
Okay,
Who's that?
You,
We do.
RB.
So the issue is this, help me, Brad, okay? So half of my community gets services from Frederick. The other half is from Region 10 until January 1st of 2024.
Okay, so then we're good.
And in January first of 2024, because we said we have to, because we're part of this organization, we're, the contracts have been let, and Pharaoh has.
Everybody is involved in the so-called related votes. So Fredericton will receive 7 votes and or not goes to everybody else. Roll call. Jeff Weaver,
Aye.
Mary Forsyth,
aye,
David Duchesne,
Aye.
Greg Erickson,
Aye.
Glenn Falconer,
Aye.
Mike Richardson,
Aye.
Dave Morrison,
aye,
Richard Corey,
Aye.
Tim Fox,
Aye.
Heather Holt Logan,
Aye.
Judy Wilson Sheep,
yes,
Rob Powell,
Aye.
David Hayward,
aye.
and Dale Mallory.
Aye.
The motion passes for the boiler, and then the second motion relates to the setting of the regular garbage tipping fee at $104 per ton.
yes, and someone should read it out, yes. Okay, yes, please.
I move that the Board of the Capital Regional Service Commission amend the following fees. Detailed rates effective January 1st, 2024. Regular garbage tipping fee, $104 per metric ton. I so move.
I'll second that. David.
Any discussion? Ready for the question?
Question.
All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion carried. Thank you. Okay, so now we'll move on to the committee reports. The Governor's Committee. I do have Director Paul here because should be a Director David Sweeney.
He's absent.
That's right, okay. Director Powell, please.
Yes, I have been sick at home with COVID and I never got some, I don't think, Kelly, did I have them?
The motion?
Yes,
Yeah, I can share the board package if you like.
okay.
Are you seeing the board package scrolling?
I see it moving.
There you go.
Oh, you just want me to read the motion, Chair?
Yes, we all had the package and our responsibility, our homework was to read it. So yes, please just read the motion.
Okay, I move the board receive the report of the Governance Committee dated the December 5th, 2023. I so moved.
Second by,
Dave Morrison. Yeah.
any discussion? Ready for the question? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carried. Thank you. Take care, Director Powell. Move on now to Community Development Committee. City Director Rogers, and he's not here tonight.
That's right. Since this committee only has one director on it and the rest of the members or councilors are not represented here tonight, I'll just give an overview on Director Rogers' behalf.
Yes, please.
So, thank you, Madam Chair. So, the the committee met in mid-November. This committee meets regularly on the second Tuesday of the month. And along with my comment before of looking at this year as year zero, to date, this committee has heard from people who are active in the community development area, trying to inform itself to properly start to deliver services. And the meeting that we had was a presentation from Greater Fredericton Social Innovation. So we're very active in community development, not only in the city of Fredericton, but outside as well. It was very insightful, and they have a strong approach to community, a data-driven approach to community development. The main thing that came out of that meeting was an offer by GFSI to take our data and run it through their data crunching machine to deliver a community development profile of our region, which is quite a bit different than a tourism profile or an economic development profile. So it was a very kind offer. We are waiting for that. I think it will help inform the committee's work. And in December, the committee will be hearing from the Horizon Health developers, and that will sort of close out the cross-pollination from other people active in the area.
So do I have to have someone read the motion off?
Yes, please.
Would someone?
Madam Chair, I'll be happy to do that.
Thank you.
I move that the board receive the report of the Community Development Committee dated December 12th, 2023.
I'm just going to read the motion in the package. I move that Capital Region Association receive the report of the region's infrastructure committee.
I'll second it, Marty, for a second.
Any discussion? Ready for the question? All those in favor?
All right,
Any opposed? Motion carried. Thank you. Finance Committee, Director Corey.
And I too will simply read the motion. I move that the board receive the report of the finance committee dated December 5th, 2023, excuse me.
Second by,
Second blessing.
any discussion? Ready for the question? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carried. Thank you. Now we'll move on to number 8, the annual departmental staff reports, a CEO verbal update in John Smith's absence. Don Fitzgerald has some comments, please.
Thank you, Madam Chair. First, I'll offer CEO Smith regrets. He's out of town. A very close friend of his passed away, and he was a pallbearer at the funeral this afternoon, and was keen to get here, but the roads are not good today. So he did leave a few notes for me to share with you, observations that he had made, and I'll go through them in not as much rigor as he would, but because I'm constrained to the notes. The first thing that he wanted to mention was a suggestion that we kind of take something out of the Barb Quigley presentation. He has noticed, and I have to agree that sometimes we're very good at directing discussion through the chair when we begin. But follow-up questions sort of flow freely across the board when in fact they should flow through the chair. And so that was not the case tonight. Tonight was pretty rigorous about directing things through the chair. And so it's I guess a tip that we can all try to keep in mind. With respect to upcoming events, there are a number of them. Thursday night, the board supper, Christmas supper is being held at Sam Sneed's at 6 o'clock. He and the rest of the senior staff are looking forward to meeting with the board in a non-transactional way. On January 26th, that's a Friday at the Whoop Center from 8 a.m. to noon. There is a workshop for the board. It's an opportunity to look at the strategic plan and the implementation guide, and to have a look at what happened in the last year and what lessons we can learn for the following year. It'll be a facilitated session, and items on the agenda will be sort of the year in review by senior staff, looking at our strategic plan, and the thing that I think will be of most benefit will be a closed session without staff, where you can perhaps drill down and expand on your discussion today around the budget and other issues. A chance for a chance for some real interaction, substantive and not specific to a transaction. I believe that you'll find that very helpful. On the 14th of December, the chair and some senior staff, Mary Kay, myself, and John, will be meeting with Minister Savoy, and there'll be a number of things on the agenda. Number one, sustainable and predictable funding. We as staff have heard from you repeatedly that you're looking for more assurance with respect to the continuance of the Regional Service Support Fund and other funding mechanisms. So we'll be carrying that message on your behalf. The opportunities for partnerships, and also John's going to raise the issue of perhaps training throughout the province, targeted primarily at CAOs and councillors who aren't here at our table to hear all of the discussion, but focusing on the role of the board and your fiduciary responsibilities as directors of the corporation. We had a very interesting session this month that was organized by Brett about anaerobic digestion, which is a way of dealing with organic waste. It's a higher value, higher output methodology than composting. And not surprisingly, as a result of its increased efficiency, it's more expensive than composting. But we had representatives from other RSCs, industry. We've met with ACOA who are keen on getting involved in this. I'd like to, at this point, to surprise Brett and ask him to sort of give us a flavor of who was at the session that he called, that was an all-day session at the Delta.
Sure. Through you, Madam Chair, and my apologies for not being there tonight. I like Director Powell, I'm a little under the weather, not COVID, but it's my turn at the cold that's going through our home. It was so as Don mentioned, it was well attended. The idea, we ran two models in a feasibility study for anaerobic digestion. One included just the Capital Region Service Commission, potentially in partnership with private industry. Potential partners there would have been Irving Oil, Enbridge Gas, Dexter, Transfield, Green for Life. We also ran a second option that would not only include the private sector, but also include the other RSCs in the western part of the province. Obviously, there's an economy of scale that could be achieved there. We see a real opportunity. We feel that our facility in Fredericton is centrally located. It's ideally placed to process all of the material and for half of the province, as well as introduce the gas that would be produced. So in this case, it would be renewable natural gas directly either into the pipeline or through a compression facility and transported to St. John. So it was well received. It's a big plan, as Don mentioned. It's significant. And so it was a lot to absorb for some of the other RSCs. We obviously were the largest as far as tonnage goes in Western New Brunswick. It was very well received by the private sector. They're very interested. I'm not sure if the directors have been paying much attention to the climate conference going on right now. But the gist of it really, and the theme for the last year in our discussions with the federal government, has been an increasing focus on methane emissions. And as such, there's some talk of increased carbon credit values, offset values, so the environmental attributes associated with the project make it very appealing. Renewable natural gas is a pretty hot commodity, and it's selling, in some cases up to 10 times what regular natural gas would be selling for. So all of those things are sort of coalescing to make a project like this at one time wasn't viable, more viable. I'm sorry, Don, I probably went on too long about that. in
No.
fairness, I mean, I could talk about this for half an hour, and hopefully at some point in the near future we'll have an opportunity to bring a more fulsome package to the board for discussion, and we can bring you up to speed on the work that we've been doing on the solid waste side.
Thank you. I have one board member that would like to ask a question.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Brett, does this require curbside collection, or are there other opportunities to acquire the kind of organics required to feed the little things?
Sure. Madam Chair, if I could answer that question, Director Erickson, typically these types of facilities would involve a dedicated organics collection program. To be a truly effective, to maximize the effectiveness, I guess, of the greenhouse gas emissions, you'd want to include not only dedicated collection for residential, but also commercial. So in addition to that, there are some large industrial producers of potential feedstocks out there that we may be able to partner with on a project like this. So all of these angles sort of coalesce. I mean, we're trying to. These are expensive projects, and I think scalability is going to be key in keeping the cost down to the taxpayer, right? So the more partners that we can bring into the fold, the more angles that we have for maximizing the revenue stream, the better. But yeah, tentatively, to answer your question, there would be a dedicated curbside collection program for them.
No, a few more things, Madam Chair. First of all, Brett can't speak for half an hour on this, because I've heard him go half an hour and he can't stop. So if you have a 10-minute option or an hour option, but we're very interested in it. What the board should know is that we're in the planning stage, we're doing due diligence, and we're trying to assemble a business case to bring to the board. And we'll keep you up to date as developments happen. The final thing that John wanted to share with the board today was a bit of an update on the Regional Aquatic Center meeting that was held just on the 1st of this month. The steering committee met with the project managers from Colliers, and the members present, there's a lot of uncertainty around the pool, not only in the public view, but in the development. What is it going to look like? How it's going to work out? The members present recommitted their commitment to the design phase. I want to make it clear, John, want to make it clear that we only have a mandate to do the design at this time. We don't have a mandate to build or break ground. The issues that need to be addressed going forward are costing, governance, ownership, operations. So there's a lot of this iceberg below the water. You may hear in your communities about a push for this 25-meter pool to be a 50-meter pool. That group has resurfaced again and is going through the process of political lobbying. Want to make it clear that this project team and the staff here at the commission understand that we only have a mandate to look at a 25-meter pool, and we're going to continue on that path until directed otherwise, which may or may not happen. And so that's it, Madam Chair, for the points that John wanted to make the directors aware of. For my own, on behalf of all the staff, this is our last real business meeting in December, so in the year. So we'd like to thank you for the guidance and your patience as we walk the rocky road of year zero. We will have one more meeting, and it'll be a special meeting called to deal with reserves, granted two with some reserves, and we're working on firming that up now. Mary Kay's team is, they're very good at forecasting where we're going to end. In our traditional lines of business, there's a little bit more uncertainty in the new mandated areas, but you should expect a special meeting notice to come out mid-month. Those meetings are relatively short. And in this case, you probably all will choose to attend virtually, but we'd be happy to have you there. So that's it for me, for John through me, Madam Chair.
Thank you very much. And before I call for adjournment, I'd like to take this opportunity as your chair to wish everyone a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. Stay safe, stay healthy, and be kind to one another. Now I will
Can I
call.
have one question?
Yes.
I missed that date for the Mood Center.
Oh,
January
26th.
January
You'll get
26th.
notice.
Actually, yeah.
All the dates will be
Can I ask
sent.
you a question about
And
the report you just delivered?
yes,
Okay. Take it you're meeting with the minister of local government in the new year?
no,
Well, no, in
no,
December.
December.
In this year?
Yes.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Another week.
Easy to remember then, coming up. If you have an opportunity, I think one of the things that might help the pool file is if the province was more engaged as a foundational funding partner. What's largely not been part of the conversation is that the province, through the university sector, has supported competitive aquatics for, I'm not exaggerating much if I say 100 years. They've let the universities get out of the business of supporting competitive aquatic infrastructure, assuming that the municipalities could just pick up the slack and swim with it. We're finding that to be a pretty expensive load. And if they come back to the table and renew their support for competitive aquatic infrastructure at a regional level, that would, I think, change things.
I suspect, I don't wanna prejudge what might come up, Madam Chair, at the meeting with the minister. But I know that he and his staff have a real keen interest on, regional infrastructure. And this falls into that plot and it wouldn't, we have read, the staff have read the director's, very clear direction and more money. So, we wouldn't be shy about raising that for him.
And I'll be the first to speak. I represent everybody. So, no further discussion. I'd like to, call for
Dave
adjournment.
Morrison.
Second,
Marty.
say your name, thank you, meeting's adjourned. Thank you, everyone, and I know some can't go to